What if you escalated it and then that turned and they were nasty to your face and they wrote you lovely letters saying, I'm really sorry for chopping your arm off yesterday? Well, I've never seen anything escalate from leaving notes on bins to chopping somebody's arm off. And how many people meet their life partner in the work environment? The only life partners they're going to meet working at home is when they look beneath the waistline. But yeah, and then of course the really athletic ones just spring them, don't they?
I kind of secretly quite admire them.
They're bastards. They're fair, evading, cheating, criminal bastards.
Hello and welcome to Francis Foster Sorts Your Life Out, the show where I indeed sort your life out. Bear in mind, I'm not a therapist, physiotherapist, none of that stuff, so you know that I know what I'm talking about. We have had an influx of new subscribers, new viewers who have been here because of the Andrew Gold interview. And for those of you who are new, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. And also, we've got so many brilliant evergreen episodes featuring people like Andrew Doyle, Andrew Gold, if you haven't seen that one, Red Richardson, a brilliant new young stand-up comedian, Scott Capurro, the list goes on and on. They're all evergreen. Go and check them out. They're absolutely fantastic. But with no further ado, we've got on one of my favourite people in the world. It's Peter Bleksley. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hello, Francis. I'm very well, thank you. From evergreens to an ageing oak, I guess, is it? Right?
No, you're in your prime.
Well, yeah, well.
You are what we would call in South London a top-level shagger, Peter.
Don't let my wife hear that.
How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm really well, thank you. Yeah, I mustn't grumble. Health is robust. The phone rings, so I go to work. The family are all well. Should have put that at the top, of course. Mm-hmm. So the mortgage is paid off. The wolf is some way from the door, fortunately. So I really haven't got much to moan about, coupled with a rather nice glass of red.
There you go. Fantastic. Well, it's great to have you on, Peter. Now, before we start, you have been causing a little bit of the stir on the old internet, have you not?
Yes, that's a bit of an understatement. Word on the street says today there's rather a lot of emails going around with my name in them because I posted a joke on the internet, on X, a couple of days ago. But unfortunately, we live in a day and age where some people cannot recognise a joke for what it is, have very little understanding of criminal law, and therefore, in their snowflakey, liberal, wokey kind of empty-headedness, many of them have reported me to the Metropolitan Police, counter-terrorism police, every media outlet I've ever worked for, they've been complaining to about me as they endeavour to get me cancelled. And it was a joke, a very funny joke, I hasten to add, right? And it was as simple as that. But some people are so devoid of any sense of humour whatsoever that they can't tell what is a joke and
well, we need to get you back on TRIGGERnometry, mate. That's his TRIGGERnometry speciality. But that being the case, I think the question for me to ask is, what was the joke?
Right. Well, I'll get it word for word for you. Okay. I wish, of course, that I could claim it as my own.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm not that clever. I'm not that funny. So it was sent to me by a mate when it was just a new thing and it was going round on WhatsApp. And it was so funny. And yeah, it's kind of edgy, but I wanted to take it beyond WhatsApp because sometimes there's an element of saying on WhatsApp what you wouldn't say in a pub or what you wouldn't say on social media, perhaps, or some people might not do. I'd say anything anywhere, to be perfectly frank with you. And I wanted it to reach a wider audience because it was so funny. Right, the joke goes, following news of the dreadful fire at Keir Starmer's house, I set up a page asking for donations. So far, I've received 75 litres of petrol, 20 gas cylinders, 210 wooden pallets, 50 boxes of matches, 90 cigarette lighters, and half a ton of out-of-date Chinese fireworks. Right? Clearly a joke. Right? Satire. Taking a serious thing, the dreadful fire, and finding humour from it. What that joke actually is, it's like a popularity poll on Keir Starmer, isn't it, really?
Of course it is, yeah. It's making a political point through humour.
Yeah. And, of course, tens of thousands of people have absolutely loved it and treated it for what it is, which is just a very funny joke. But all the delicate flowers out there have got so upset by it. And they're accusing me of incitement, and some of the language that I've been called is absolutely hysterical. They've really got their lefty knickers in a twist. And yeah, to repeat the fact, they've reported me to the police and counter-terrorism police and all of that. And of course, there isn't a hint of any crime whatsoever in that joke. It's just a joke. But people think I'm inciting people to take up arms and burn down houses because they are clearly off their rockers.
I mean, it's a good point. It's a great joke, and it's so funny. Did you expect it to have that reaction?
I thought a lot of people would find it funny, you know, and most of my followers, I think, are fairly sort of like-minded souls in that they have a sense of humour, and I try my questionable attempts at humour on X a lot, you know. In fact, there was so many people lost their minds over it that this morning, what I actually did in that joke, I spelt Keir wrong.
Yes.
Okay, as some pedantic people pointed out to me. So what I did today, after it had blown up, this morning I said, after a time of reflection, I've decided, you know, that I've looked at my actions and I want to make a fulsome and wholesome apology. And of course, so I've sucked some of the flaky ones in, thinking I'm going to apologise for posting that tweet, make a fulsome apology for spelling the name Keir incorrectly, right? Which is just going to further irritate the flaky ones when they get to see it, you know. And that's what's wrong with cracking a joke that irritates as much as it amuses.
So I like this. So you've gone from police inspector to internet troll, Peter.
Well, I was only ever a lowly detective constable, you know, and I've done quite a lot of sort of online comedy shows over the years on various outlets and that kind of stuff. And whilst, the overwhelming bulk of my commentary is on crime and policing and serious matters, that doesn't mean to say you should be pigeonholed and not be able to crack a joke. I've gone from all of the aforementioned to being roundly cancelled. That's what it would appear to be. But we'll see. We'll see, actually, in the next week or two, because, as I say, without saying too much, and I'm sorry, I don't want to sound tricksy here and all that, so please just forgive me on this front. But there's a lot of emails with my name in them going around, so consequently there are conversations. What will be very interesting to see is whether certain media outlets, shall we say, and individuals that claim to be protectors of free speech, we'll see in the next couple of weeks if they really are.
Oh, well, so it's been nice knowing you, mate.
Yeah, it's fine.
See you later.
It's fine. Anybody got the jobs vacancy page?
We'll get you back on TRIGGERnometry. I've been cancelled from everything.
I can still shift some furniture if anybody wants a man with a van. I mean, you know, why not?
Yeah, why not? Why not? You'll be fine. Like, do you know what? Do you know the nice thing is now? I think we've gone past all that peak outrage stuff. No one takes it seriously anymore. Everyone's like, do you know what? It's, you know, life is inherently ridiculous.
But how can you say that on the week when a story broke about a guy who used to be a special constable in Kent called Julian Fawkes? He did 10 years as a special constable.
Yeah.
And at the back end of 2023, Kent Police sent 6 police officers to his house and arrested him for something he posted on X, which was satire. It was a joke. He got arrested, kind of coerced into accepting a caution, which has since been rescinded. So have the police really got over that kind of peak being offended, peak outrage? I fear they probably haven't. And a lot of people have been expressing the wish on X that I get such a visit Well, I won't, of course, because I haven't remotely broken any laws.
I mean, there must be a part, if you're a police officer, if you've got any sense about you.
Can I stop you there?
Go on.
Right? Because there's a bit of a contradiction in terms these days.
Yeah.
Clearly, there are lots of police officers that don't have any sense about them because they send their underlings to go and arrest people for satirical tweets.
I mean, look, I'm not a copper. I've never been a copper. But if I was a copper, I would get into it because I'd want to catch, murderers, rapists.
Yeah.
People, bad people.
Burglars and car thieves are good fun.
Yeah.
Shoplifters is how you learn the basics of crime investigation. Nicking all of the aforementioned is good fun.
Yeah.
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 But unfortunately, the ideological police, some of them, and it's the clousy joke. It was funny when I was out driving with my wife yesterday and we were talking about it as this storm over the joke was brewing up and people wanted me placed into handcuffs. Sarah said, well, and Sarah's ex-law enforcement, she did more than 30 years. And she came out with a little kind of, wasn't a quip, but I thought it was rather funny. I said, look, honey, I've not broken the law in any way, shape or form. I said, the thing is, the people that are getting their knickers in a twist on X don't know the law. And she turned around and said, nor do the police. Right? And that, of course, is based in some truth because they're arresting people for no crimes whatsoever. And when they searched Mr. Fawkes' house, they found Douglas Murray books and stuff, which they described as being a bit Brexity.
I mean, Douglas was a big supporter of Brexit, so it's not inaccurate.
Yeah.
Now, whether you should be arrested for reading a Douglas Murray book is another matter entirely.
Well, I've got a bit of Class A Brexity on me. Right? Possession with intent to supply, Class A Brexity. Look at that, a little lighter I bought the other day with the Union flag on it.
Mate, that's far right.
That is Brexity, isn't it?
Yeah, that is proper far right.
You've just been in possession of that. You've just committed a Brexity offence, you see. Possession with intent to supply. I'll get Nick for supplying it to you.
Mate, I've interviewed Farage about 12 times, so I've got the when it comes to Brexity gear, I've got the grade A stuff. Before we move on, Peter, to deal with our questions from our audience, I'm going to ask you, what's the funniest arrest you've ever done?
The funniest arrest, right, was at Sutton.
Yeah.
Now, I was a Scotland Yard detective, right? And when we used to, so we were based at Scotland Yard, and when we swanned into police stations, wheresoever they may be, we generally speaking didn't know people there. They didn't know us. We were a yard squad, with big motors and all that kind of stuff, and sometimes shoulder holsters with guns in them and what have you. So we'd go into a police station with prisoners and all that kind of stuff, and there would be a buzz go around and that kind of thing. We're from the yard. Anyway, on one such occasion, I was standing in the front office of Sutton Nick trying to find some forms. It was in the old days when everything was on paper. And a young woman came rushing into the front counter. Excuse me, help me, help me, help me. So I look around and there's a couple of uniformed cops from Sutton Police Station and they're doing bugger all. Because obviously it's their job to attend to her. I'm not from Sutton Police Station. I'm not in uniform. I'm a yard detective. Why isn't anybody helping this woman? So I looked around and I was mightily unimpressed. And so I went to her help. I said, yes, madam, can I help you? She said, yeah, I'm a store detective. I'm a store detective. She said, he's stolen a television. And I said, right, okay. So I sprung over the counter, right, ran out, and she comes out with me, run out onto the street. We haven't travelled that far. She said, there he is, there he is. And there's this little fella, must have been about 5'4", with a big holdall, which he couldn't close, because this telly was quite big, an old-style portable television, so kind of like that, by that deep. And he shoved it into a holdall very audaciously and, walked off with it. So I go legging it down the road, right, to catch him, and I catch up with him. Hello, mate, I'm a police officer. You've nicked that. You're nicked, right? So that's fine. So I've got him in one hand, and I've got the telly in the other hand, and I'm walking him back to the police station. Fairly simple and straightforward, you would think, wouldn't you? Okay? Until a young, fresh-faced police constable in his sparkling new uniform comes running up to me And of course, I've made the mistake of being in possession of the television. And this young man is clearly unable to figure out in his head that I might not be the shoplifter and the man whose arm I've got might be the shoplifter. So he said, I'm arresting you for shoplifting that television. I said, mate, I'm from the Yard, right? I'm from Scotland Yard. I said, I've arrested him for shoplifting. So if you would help me escort him back to the police station, i.e. grab the other arm, that would be quite helpful. He said, well, show me your warrant card. I said, so you want me to put down this bag, let go of him, get my warrant card out of my pocket, by which time he will be legging it down the road again, right? And we can all do this Keystone Cops thing all over again, shall we? Right? And he said, well, I need to see your warrant card. At this point, my saving grace appeared. And it was the store detective, the formerly out-of-breath lady, who came running up and went, you stupid idiots, he's helped me, he's the police officer. Grab the other arm of the shoplifter, will you? At which point a rather sheepish PC did exactly that. And we all walked back to the police station, 3 abreast, right? Me, prisoner in the middle, and the PC on the side. People had to walk off the pavement to get around us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he was so literal in his thinking. And that was probably about the most embarrassing and stupid arrest I'd ever been involved in.
You know, that does remind me, and we will get to your questions, Peter, that there's one of the best comedy clubs in the UK is called Top Secret Comedy Club in Covent Garden. And there was a TV comedian on stage who's very well known called James Acaster. And there was a guy who got up and confronted him on stage, and there was a bit of a set to. And the club owner said to the bouncer, who was outside, he went, there's a guy on stage, you need to get him off stage. You need to get him off stage immediately. Get him off stage now. So the bouncer went, all right, piled downstairs. Anyway, the man confronting the comedian left.
Oh.
And then the comedian was on stage doing his act.
On his own?
On his own. And the bouncer walked up to him and went, mate, you're going to have to leave. And he was like, what? What are you talking about? He was like, yeah, Mark said you got to go, mate. And he did not see the funny side. Ironically, he was livid.
Yeah. I saw James Acaster once because my kids absolutely adore him.
Yeah.
We saw him on one of his tours. Very clever, witty, funny man.
There we go. But God bless James. He didn't see the funny side of that particular incident.
I'm sure he didn't, no.
I don't think. But anyway, we have got some problems and we needed people to solve them. Jackie, you know what the mole eyes are like, mate. You know that Francis is, they're failing rapidly. In fact, Peter's probably got better eyesight than me. So let's see what we've got here. Dear Francis, I've lived on this street for 43 years, man and boy. The corner shop used to sell fags, papers and booths. Now it's a fermentation boutique run by 2 lads called Toby. I just want a can of Stella. Am I the problem?
No. Toby and Toby clearly have a right to run a fermentation shop, whatever that is. What do they ferment? They should be fermenting hops and barley, shouldn't they, and brewing beer.
I think it's probably organic beer.
Then the Stella problem wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
No. This person is clearly not the problem. Although I'm rather disappointed in their choice of beer, Stella, because it's been downgraded, hasn't it?
Has it been? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Now it's only about 4.3 or something pathetic like that. Because it used to be 5% or more, and clearly too many wives got beaten up. I'm not making a gag out of that before I get reported to counter-terrorism police again. Domestic violence is a dreadful thing, right? Oh, for clarity, just in case there's a snowflake watching. So Stella is just a pale shadow of its former self. So go and drink a proper beer of 5% or more. And, they sell fags in the supermarket. They sell beer in the supermarket. And from what I see on the streets and online these days, nobody pays for anything when they go into stores. So maybe you just want to go and help yourself. But that'll get me reported to the police again, won't it? For condoning shoplifting.
I don't think it will, mate. I think we've reached a point now where it's kind of like you can just... I use the tube now. No one pays for the tube. It's now free.
That irritates the life out of me as well. Albeit after 9:30, I travel for free because I've got an over 60s Oyster card.
Well, there you go.
One of the benefits of living in London. But when I see people tailgating me, right, because the real kind of gormless ones just force the barriers, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to give them a real proper shove to get those barriers open. But I've seen them doing that. Others try and tailgate.
Yeah.
Well, when I know somebody's about to tailgate me, because my peripherals are still pretty good, you know, and once an undercover detective, always an undercover detective, you know what I mean? I've always got my eyes out for any form of misdemeanour that might befall me. So when somebody comes up really tight and I know they're trying to tailgate me, what I do is I stand back a little bit from the pad where you put your card.
Yeah.
So I'm, you know, I'm not doing it like I normally would. So I'm just slowing down the time that they've got to tailgate me, and then I deliberately slow down my pace so that I'm just getting through the barrier just in time, and hopefully it will foil the tailgater. But yeah, and then of course the really athletic ones just spring them, don't they?
Yeah.
And leap over them.
I kind of secretly quite admire them because I don't think I've ever had that level of athleticism.
They're bastards. They're fare evading, cheating, criminal bastards. And I saw one do that a couple of months ago, and he went flat on his face, and I stood over him and laughed.
So I take it you're not in favour of these individuals, Peter?
Fare evasion is a crime, right? And it's not to be laughed at. Bastards. If they all paid, perhaps prices would come down for other people, including me, because I have to pay before 9:30.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe fares would come down for the masses, for all of us. But no. One rule for them. So what's so special about them? Why do we have to go to work hard to get paid, spend our money on expensive travel costs, only for these bastards to pay nothing?
Do you know?
No. Outrageous. Criminals.
You know,
Scum. Vermin. Shoot them. No, all right, don't shoot them.
Do you know what I like about you, Peter? Is that I talk to you, mate, and I know where I'm going to be in 25 years.
What, skint but happy?
Yeah, just seething and furious.
No, I'm not always furious. I just don't like fare evasion. I don't like people who break the law. If we all abide by the laws, why should others feel that they don't apply to them? What is so special about them that the rules don't apply? And as we live in an increasingly lawless country, it seeps down, and there is more crime, and there is less respect for one another. There is less common courtesy. Please and thank you. Please, madam, have my seat. Can I help you with that bag? It would be my pleasure. All that kind of stuff, which I've grown up to realise is right. And what I love doing, that's why I'm always on public transport. And I love it so much because virtually every day when I travel on public transport, I can help someone.
Yeah.
And that makes me feel good as well as them. And these things are all interconnected, from feet on seats, from fare evasion to stealing. It's all linked.
I quite agree with you. I agree with you. I think there's something subtly demoralising. I use the word subtly. It's not subtly. It's kind of insidious, the demoralisation when you see people break the rules and then there's no punishment there.
Changed your tune now, ain't you see? I've won you over.
No, I feel this way anyway. You know what I feel like doing? Because I'm snide. You know, and I quite enjoy football. You know, I just love to, when they're just coming through, just a little clip of the heels. Just a little, do you know what I mean? A little tap of the ankle just to send them flying.
What you're talking about is you go through the turnstiles or when you're on a game.
Yeah. And they
Are you a Palace fan?
No, West Ham.
Ah.
Yeah, just when they cut in front, just do a little Julian Dix, leave the studs in.
I've got a picture of Julian Dix in my downstairs toilet.
Of course you have.
As he tries to catch Les Ferdinand up, and Les done him for pace, because Julian Dix, whilst he was a good player, he wasn't renowned for being fleet of foot, was he?
No.
Yeah, anyway, that's by the by. I'll tell you, it's not by the by, actually, because the photograph is taken by a professional photographer from the home end of Loftus Road.
Yeah.
And in the away end, you can see that there's very few West Ham fans. Where were you when you were shit?
I think we still are, mate.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're getting distracted. Is there any more red wine, please?
There you go. Peter demands some more red wine. So what?
I didn't demand. I asked politely. There's a difference. Manners maketh man.
That is, you are very correct. So, what should this man do? What should this man do? He grew up in a traditional London with fags, Stella,
Yep.
going out,
Right.
maybe a cheeky bird or two.
Yep. Right. Give up smoking. I still enjoy it. It is, of course, expensive, antisocial, smelly, and life-shortening. So it's ludicrous to smoke, but I enjoy smoking, which is why I do it. So give up smoking, mate. You'll live longer. Might not be as happy, but, you know.
Yeah.
So give up the smoking. Keep with the alcohol. Please drink responsibly. Or not every now and again. Yeah, and change it. Don't get Stella. But go down to the supermarket. If you look carefully, you will get a deal for about 13 quid for a box of 12 bottles.
Yeah.
Of a decent Madri, Moretti, or something like that. So it's around about £1 a bottle as opposed to £7.50 a pint in a central London pub. Yeah, and enjoy a drink. But yeah, ditch the Stella. It's 4.3%, which is any lower than that, it would be piss, wouldn't it? But,
you're quite correct. Always taste it. I'm never a lager man when I used to drink. Always a Guinness chap myself. Not Nigerian Guinness, because that stuff is rocket fuel. Dear Francis, my GP appointment was with a man on Zoom wearing a hoodie who called me mate. He told me to try for yoga. He told me to try yoga. I've got gout. Is the NHS still real?
You see, okay, so if the GP was wearing a hoodie, I want to know what this person was wearing on the Zoom meeting, right? Because let's face it, we've all done a Zoom with a collar and tie on and our pyjama trousers, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've all done that. I mean, he might have been in his undercrackers. So he's really, if he was sitting there in his shreddies with this GP appointment, he's in no position to criticise the GP for wearing a hoodie, is he?
Well, you can make the argument, Peter, that the GP is in a professional capacity, therefore he should dress professionally.
I'd rather my GP in a collar and tie, I will admit.
Mm-hmm.
But it's important we know what this person was wearing themselves, because you can't criticise a GP wearing, a hoodie wearing GP if you are sat there in your stained and filthy undercrackers.
It's a good point.
As for the gout, there's medication for that. Take the meds and I wish you well. It's very unpleasant, apparently, gout.
Yeah.
Says he, having another slug of red wine.
Yeah, that is true. Have you ever had gout, Peter?
Touch wood? No.
Fantastic. What do you think about the NHS, Peter?
I love it. It saved my life twice. So it's an organisation that I absolutely adore. I think it is staffed by many, many wonderful people, but I'm afraid it is plagued by the professional lanyard-wearing classes. You know, those people have all trotted off to university and got themselves degrees in management and all that, and couldn't put a fucking plaster on your paper cut, you know? They're running the show. And that, of course, is very, very unfortunate. Too many managers, too many overpaid managers, trust chiefs, and all that kind of stuff. There's no point just throwing more money at it if they're going to do the same thing over and over again. It clearly needs reform, but reform in big organisations are slow. And the reason it's slow is because people with those lanyards in those management positions, they're turkeys who are not going to vote for Christmas. They're not going to strip out management levels that are too heavily populated, are they? No, of course they're not. So it suits them to stay in those kind of positions. I don't know what it's going to take to bring root and branch reform. I went to visit a mate of mine in hospital the other day, and they are still on pen and paper. Now, surely record keeping can be brought up to speed and made more efficient and less cumbersome and all of that. But by and large, I love the NHS and I love the people that work within it.
There we go. So it is a brilliant organisation, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the NHS, which shows that it's not all good. Right, next one, please, Jackie. Dear Francis, My company's pushing return to office for culture reasons, but I'm more productive at home. Is resisting the commute selfish, or is office life a scam?
Bullshit, you bone-idle skiver. Get back to work, right? Get back into the office, working from home. Yeah, righto, walking the dog, having a snooze, on the piss by 4 o'clock,
Sounds wonderful.
right? Nonsense. Nonsense, you bone-idle waster. Go into work. There's so many benefits from work. The camaraderie, the laughter you can have, the human interaction. And how many people meet their life partner in the work environment? A lot of people.
Yeah.
The only life partners they're going to meet working at home is when they look beneath the waistline. Right? Get into work.
So you enjoyed going into work, Peter?
I love it. I still do. It's great. It's where you get to meet people. And you have that feeling of being a team and collective achievements and purpose and human interaction. Sitting at home all day on your own, stroking a cat and...
Is that a euphemism?
Might be. No, if it was a euphemism, it would have been stroking the pussy, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So, no, it's... No, get into work. Come on, shape up. It's good for you. And it's better for productivity and all of that. Working from unless you're a novelist, when, of course, you work from home, right? Or some other form of writer. I have done a lot of writing at home, obviously. But work in the office, it's good for the soul.
So you liked office culture then, Peter?
Yeah, of course. For all the aforementioned reasons. Where you meet people. And when you've had a great day and you've achieved a lot, and in my law enforcement career, that would have been the conclusion of a case at the Old Bailey, for example, when the jury have returned a guilty verdict. And you go back to the office, dump the exhibits, put the exhibits away securely, put the case papers away, and those of you that worked on the case go, right, come on, pub, yes, boom, off we go. And then you get on the piss and have a good time.
So that sounds like a lot of fun.
It's a lot more fun than working from home and spending your life on Tinder trying to find a partner.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. It is. How did you meet the love of your life, Peter?
On a blind date.
Really?
Yeah. My mate was shagging her mate. Right? Okay? And so it's just as simple. That's exactly what was happening. And so my mate and her mate, in conversations, when they weren't shagging, said, oh, yeah, I've got a mate. And she said, yeah, I've got a mate too. So that's how it happened, blind date.
Really? And did you know she was the one for you when you saw her?
When I met her, I thought, she's a very attractive young lady. And we had a really good time. We went out, we went to a pub, we watched a band, live music. It was fabulous. Went back to hers. She said, would you like to come in for a cup of coffee?
Classic.
I said, yes, please. Got in there and she said, how do you take your coffee? I said, I don't drink coffee, but I got in the front door, hadn't I? See? Yeah. So anyway, it's all right. It wasn't creepy. Don't report me for that as well. Honestly, the matter overworks with Peter Bleksley work this week. Lee, give him a break. Yeah, no. And she eventually kind of kicked me out after we'd had an enjoyable time. No shagging on the first date, not with my wife. And we carried on seeing each other and all that kind of stuff and fell in love. And we've been together over 30 years, 2 kids, great time. Bumps in the road, of course. Imagine being married to an arse like me. Bumps in the road, all of my making. But she's the most wonderful woman I could ever have wished to spend my life with. I am truly, truly blessed. And I hope we have many more years together.
There you go.
And the secret?
Yeah, what is the secret?
To a long-lasting, loving relationship, I'll tell you, you know you found the right person when you love them more than you love yourself. Then you've got the right one.
That's lovely.
Thank you.
That is very nice. You've actually touched me, Peter. Not literally, metaphorically. Next one, please, Jackie. Dear Francis, my neighbour, or my new neighbour rather, leaves passive-aggressive notes about bin placement, but waves like we're besties in person. It's giving Jekyll and Hyde vibes. Do I play nice or escalate to note warfare?
Don't escalate because your neighbour's clearly schizophrenic.
What
Right.
do you mean they're clearly schizophrenic?
Well, they're nasty in notes and they're pleasant to your face. Right?
Yeah. All right. Well, that's not necessarily a sign of schizophrenia. That's more like passive aggression, isn't it?
What if you escalated it and then that turned and they were nasty to your face and they wrote you lovely letters saying, I'm really sorry for chopping your arm off yesterday. I do hope you get well soon.
Do you see, the thing
Don't
is,
escalate. Don't escalate any situation.
this is it, because being a former copper, you've seen things escalate and where they inevitably go to.
Well, I've never seen anything escalate from leaving notes on bins to chopping somebody's arm off, just in case you thought that was based on a previous experience. But no, don't escalate. Always look to take the heat out of situations.
Yeah.
Unless it's on X and someone's saying they want your freaking, something unpleasant, then feel free to engage and have a bit of banter. But no, don't escalate things. They're neighbours. You never know when you're going to need a neighbour. Neighbours are really, really valuable. Get on with your neighbours. Love them, treasure them. Because on that horrible cold morning when the car won't start, they might just have a battery charger or something. Or when something goes wrong in your house and you knock next door, they might help you. Neighbours are important. Love thy neighbour. Do not escalate.
Have you ever, here's a question, have you ever been walking down the road and looked over at a bloke and thought, oh my God, I think I've nicked him?
Well, something rather entertaining happened on social media a few months ago. I was making a joke about some politician that had been sacked or something, and everybody knew they were useless and all of that kind of thing. But no, they'd been promoted, that's right. And this politician had a reputation for being utterly, utterly useless. And they'd been promoted or they'd got a knighthood or something like that, So I put a tweet out and I said, I am utterly useless at everything I've ever done. Words to that effect. Can I have a knighthood as well, please? Some bloke jumps on social media and said, Peter, in 1984, when you were in the CID at Kensington, you were very good when you got me 4.5 years in a young offenders institute. And so this is something like from 40 years ago.
Wow.
Right? And then I replied back and said, really? It was like amazing that he got in touch. And then he messaged me privately and he said, you turned my life around. Said, best thing that ever happened to me.
Really?
Yeah. So I've had that dealings with someone online. I don't think face to face. No, I don't think I have. But there again, I'm on my second glass of red. So I might have met somebody in that situation half hour ago and I just don't remember now.
Have you ever nicked someone famous? Did you ever nick anyone famous?
I nicked Phil Lynnett's heroin dealer once upon a time. I know he wasn't famous, but Phil Lynnett was. Sadly, passed away. Drugs, the scourge of drugs. Famous people? No, not really, because I was working undercover against gangsters.
Against gangsters?
And a famous criminal is a foolish criminal.
Oh, I mean, the Krays were famous, weren't they?
Yeah, and that's why they had to be taken down. That's why all the powers of the state were railed against them.
Yeah.
They'd got to a point where they were a threat to the very existence of society, and they had to go. And that's what happens, you see, with criminals. They think it's all great, and they love the trappings of crime and all that stuff, but when they reach a particular level, people might not appreciate it, but there are conversations that go on behind closed doors, and very senior cops, and often secretly politicians go, they've got to go. And guess what? They do.
My uncle was, my great uncle was chief superintendent at Manchester Police Force. And he used to tell a story that once the Krays took the train up to Manchester and he met them personally with about 6 or 8 coppers, whatever it was. And he went, you were not getting out here. No. You were getting on the train right back to London.
Oh, yeah.
And he put them right on the train back to London. Didn't even let them step into Manchester. I don't think that's particularly legal, but...
No, not now, but, things were different back in the day.
Yeah.
Policing was different, society was different, and, it's a great story.
There you go. All right, Cockney rhyming slang quiz. Okay, Peter. So for those of you who don't know, American/Canadian, one of the beautiful things about London is we have something called Cockney rhyming slang. So, for instance, apple and pears mean stairs. That better not be the first one, for example. Let's go with the first one. Bristol cities.
Titties.
That was good. Lovely pair of Bristols.
Yeah, are you just trying to get me cancelled here?
Yeah,
right.
That's what it is.
Right.
So, 1-0 to Peter. Let's go. Haddock and bloater. Floater. Oh, come and jump in my motor.
No. A motor is a jam jar, not a haddock and bloater. It's a jam jar car, right? That's nonsense, that one.
Yeah.
Somebody from Surrey wrote that.
Okay, it's 1-1. Stop moaning, Peter. Come on. Pea and ham. Scam. Peter, what's going on, mate? I thought you'd be storming this. 2-1 down. I believe in you, Pete. You can make your way back. You're Brinner.
Winner.
No, what you got for dinner?
Honestly, written by somebody from Surrey who's never been to London.
You don't talk about Jack like that. He gets sensitive. Ink and quill.
Bill?
Pass me the bill.
No, you see, the bill is Jack and Jill, right? Get the Jack and Jill, which means get the bill. Not fucking Quill and whatever the fuck it was. It's Jack and Jill. Get the Jack and Jill. Struth.
Crispin Glover.
Lover?
I'm going to go with mother. She was a fine lover. There you go, you won, Peter.
Crispin. You mention the name Crispin in some of the pubs I drink in and you'll get chinned. People will be looking for your pinky ring and your chinos and your tweed jacket. Crispin Glover.
With no further ado, Peter, thanks for coming on the show. If people want to find you online, if they want to find your books, your work, where's the best place to do that?
Well, my books are all on Amazon, for example. Any book written by me, Peter Bleksley. They're also available as audio books. The autobiography, The Gangbuster, the first one is really the tales of all the daring do working undercover and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, they're all out there. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming on the show, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure to tune in next week. Make sure to like and subscribe, because otherwise you won't hear about our wonderful episodes. And go and check out fabulous evergreen episodes that we've got all the way back with people like Sean Walsh, Tom Ward, a whole host of people, Dapper Laughs. Check them out. See you next time.
Cheers.